everybody, welcome to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson and I'm here with high school friend.
Absolutely.
Stabler, you didn't know this one. Another McGinnis student. She's younger than me, but you know, I look a lot older than I am is what I'm going to do. Sage is what it is. Katherine Perry. Katherine is now the executive director, president. What is it? Mama Hen?
Mama Hen, but executive director is the title that we put on the business cards.
On the business cards, okay. Of Leadership Winston Salem. Like that? See, I can do that. All right, so Katherine, I've known you for years and was just so excited that you are now executive director. You have been around the nonprofit area of Winston-Salem, and I want to go back and talk about that and what got you to here and why Leadership Winston-Salem is so special and some notable alumni. I mean, you know, I guess you get to put your name on the wall if you're an alumni there.
Well, that's our City of Winston proclamation of Office of the Mayor.
Yeah, but still, an alumni.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
All right, so we get to ask you the questions, all right? So
Yes.
The first question is, where are you from and how long you been in Winston?
Well, I'm from Winston-Salem. I've lived here not all of my life, but a good portion of it.
All right.
So I went to school at UNC Chapel Hill and then moved around the state and then moved out to Tennessee and came back. I've actually moved out and come back to Winston 3 times, so I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Okay, all right. And you have 2 sons?
I have 3 boys.
3 boys, okay, sorry for the one I forgot. And was the baby the one that just left? Or
Yes, my 19-year-old. He is
so your
a
19-year-old just
freshman
left.
at UNC Charlotte.
And yeah, I've noticed Facebook posts. You've told this class that they better be careful.
Yes, my
Okay.
class of 2021,
Yep.
my flagship class, because now that I don't have the distraction of having a young man around the house, I can shower all my affections and attentions on them, all 66 of them.
All right. So we got where you're from. We got how long you've been here. Now, what's your favorite place to eat?
I'd say Moselle's, hands
Moselle's?
down.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, any alumni in the restaurant business?
Yes, we have, I believe, the Simon Burgess.
Okay.
He was a graduate of our Insight program.
Okay.
And Lynette Matthews-Murphy with Springhouse
Right.
and Quanto Basta.
Right.
She graduated from the flagship program a number of years ago.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So Moselle's, good place to eat. Love it. Now then, what's your favorite thing to do around Winston-Salem? Now, it can be pre-COVID or during COVID. So.
Well, I wouldn't say that it is my favorite thing, but I certainly appreciate it since COVID, being able to go to the gym because it was closed down for so long. It just makes you appreciate being able to do anything.
Right.
But I really enjoy getting together with friends, and I guess I feel that now more than ever because we're having to stay so socially distanced.
Yeah, it's very weird. We're doing a project on something with the national thing that I'm in, and they you know, it's so weird to not have the interaction you'd normally have of after something go get a drink or something like that. It's all Zoom, and it's how has that affected? Well, wait, hold on. Yep, no, that's it. So how has Zoom and the COVID affected Leadership Winston-Salem? I thought I had not asked you the last question there.
So we are very much a fully in-person program, or were obviously previously. A lot of our experiences were based on personal interactions with the community, with one another, insofar as our class interactions go. And so obviously we had to completely pivot that entire experience to the Zoom platform, and we did that back in April. We first started off offering what would have normally been on one day, offered little bites over the course of the whole month. But when we retooled the program for the fall, we had hoped and had to put into place a number of different contingency plans because we kept thinking in a couple of months we might be able to get together. So we'd put together a plan A and plan B, and then obviously had to go with the plan B, which was fully virtual. But the class has really responded well to it. There have actually been some highlights that we wouldn't have experienced had it not been for Zoom. Like the ability of the class to interact with one another during the course of the day in the chat function when speakers are engaging them. And it's been a great experience. I think if you were to ask any of the class members, while of course they would love to see one another in person, they felt like this has been just as robust of a program through Zoom as it would have been in person.
Yeah, I think you and I were talking about a month or so ago, and I mean, there's even like a plan C where it might be that you divide the class in half, and because of the number of people that can be in a room, you were going to do like maybe, hey, the mayor speaks on this day to this group, and then maybe a month later he speaks to this group or something like that. So you're really always rolling and trying to keep it to be the best thing, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to change our program according to how our environment and community changes, what the most topical information is, and so we continue to evolve the program for it to continue to be robust, for it to continue to be relevant to the community and for the people that would enroll in the program. So we're always changing. It's never well, this is how we do it, or this is how we've always done it. It's if we're not changing, we're not growing, and it's imperative for us to continue to grow.
One of the things that is such a great topic now has been something that you all have addressed for a long time, and that's diversity.
Yes.
Your class is representative of the community. You are very, very precise on making sure that everyone's represented. And so how do you guys continue to do that with, I don't even know how many applicants you get in, but what's the secret sauce behind all that has made that be so successful for you guys before it became such a national hot topic?
Well, when we first started our program back in 1985, it was their intention originally, even with these much smaller classes, to be diverse, to get people from different sectors, from different employee bases, from different races, from different genders, because it's the diversity that helps make the learning experience better. You and I are very similar. We had similar backgrounds. We grew up going to the same high school. So I don't know that I'm going to learn as much from you as I would learn from somebody who maybe just transferred here from Florida, who has a diverse background. So I'm going to see things through their perspective. It's going to make me a more well-rounded person. So each year we have a wonderful class who is the best class ever. They all are. And we reach out to them and say, we want to hear from you as to who your friends are, your family members are, your coworkers are, the people you go to church with that you feel like would gain something from this program or an important voice that we need to hear at the table. And so we get these fantastic nominations, and we get hundreds of them per year. And I reach out to each one of them individually to say, you were nominated by this person in the class, and we would really like to have a conversation with you to talk to you about the program. This year our class is about 50-50, about 50% Caucasian, about 50% African American. So we expect that we will continue moving forward with that kind of level of diversity, which really is the best possible recipe. Mm-hmm. The only area that I would love to see us grow in, well, I'd love to see us grow in lots of areas, but one key area is to have more people from the Hispanic Latinx community, which we have not been able to successfully tap.
Yeah, it is interesting to me as you just never know what you're going to learn. And I can remember my first time that I stepped into the classroom getting my MBA back in 2012 at Winston-Salem State, and a man in that class made a comment that was exactly the opposite of what I had been taught, and that was, in our situation, we're taught to be colorblind. We're not supposed to be colorblind. You're supposed to appreciate where this individual has come, and it just changed my whole aspect on things. And that wouldn't have happened if I was not in a diverse background area. So.
Absolutely.
All right, let's peel it back. I've gotten way ahead of myself. I want to talk about you. And all right, so you of course, attend probably one of the most premier high schools of all time, Bishop McGinnis Memorial High School. And which, every school I've gone to is not a school for that age, by the way. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Clemens is now what? The Roy Hill Conference Center. Mm-hmm. Brown burned to the ground, I think. Southwest is a elementary, and then now Bishop McGinnis is basically an elementary. So I don't know what's happening. But with you, after you leave here, after you go to Chapel Hill, what gets you into nonprofit? Was that your intention off the bat, or what?
Well, my senior year in high school, my mother developed breast cancer, and so she and I walked through that journey together. I spent my entire summer before I went to Chapel Hill taking her back and forth to her chemotherapy treatments, and it left a huge impression on me. So I knew that whatever it is that I did with my professional life, I wanted to make a difference. I went through journalism school and did a couple of internships, and then got to the I'm sort of, I've gotten too far down the road, and I'm just going to go ahead and get my degree. And then as soon as I graduated, I got a part-time job at the American Cancer Society. And to sort of make ends meet, I got a part-time job at the American Red Cross. And so I cobbled those two paychecks together until I had an opportunity to go full-time at the Red Cross. And then having worked in the nonprofit sector and seeing the difference that that can make for our community, I knew that I really couldn't justify working in for-profit unless there was something to be gained by the community at large. And so this is sort of the home that I found myself in.
Mm-hmm. And so then family moves you to Tennessee.
Well, the family moved me to, and if you will follow my track for a second, we moved, so we were living in Winston, then
Right.
we moved to Kernersville, then Greensboro, then Wilmington, then Raleigh, then Cary, then Charlotte, then Winston, then Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia, then back to Winston again. So it's a few moves.
Mm-hmm. And so where were you at during those moves?
Where was I at?
Yeah, in the sense of, yeah.
So I took some time off.
Oh, 3 kids, why not? Yeah.
A little bit of time off to do some child rearing.
Right.
I had worked for the American Cancer Society after I left Red Cross, and I worked in Wilmington at the Cancer Society and then in Raleigh.
Okay.
Took some time off to do some mothering, taking care of children and enjoying that, and did a lot of volunteer work in the same places most stay-at-home moms do with the school and the church. And then when we moved to Bristol, Tennessee, I felt like I had been uprooted from everything that I had known and dropped into the middle of the deep Appalachian Mountains and was so unhappy until I saw this sign someone had posted somewhere. It said, don't forget to bloom where you're planted.
Right.
So I decided I couldn't really grouse about the community unless I was willing to, pull up my bootstraps and get involved. And so I did, started working part-time there, worked in a position where I paid for my own salary with the funds that I'd raised, and loved it, and loved the people, and just loved what I was doing until we relocated down here, and I went to work for the Arts Council.
Mm-hmm. And the Arts Council, what did you do for them?
I was their marketing director, and I managed special events, and then moved into a development role with them and worked with them for 3 years, and it was fantastic. The people at the Arts Council were second to none.
And what I don't think a lot of people realize is organizations like the United Way or organizations like the Arts Council, besides what they do on a normal basis, the touches are amazing. So at the Arts Council, you're meeting with large givers, small givers, but also all of the organizations that are touched by the Arts Council. Mm-hmm. So in that case, you met that guy in that office right there that's not here that we can talk junk about. We have to call him an alderman now, don't we? City council member, that's right. Yeah. So, we've got Kevin Mundy, of course, who has been on real estate radio back when we did that, but a nice guy, but just an example of the people that you meet. Mm-hmm. And then now you work with him here, so that's got to be fun because he's no energy, just kind of never.
He is magnificent.
He's awesome.
I had an opening on my staff, and I called him up and I said,
"Please."
I said, "How much do you love me?"
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I love you endlessly. What can I do
Please.
for you?" And I said, "How would you like to come out of your official retirement and just work part-time? It's just fun. You get to meet the neatest people." And so we sat down and had coffee, and I talked him into it. And now he's
I don't
my
see
partner
him
in
doing
crime.
anything part-time.
Well, I think he throws as much of a 60-hour week into 20 hours
Right.
that he can do. And then now that he is also a city council member, that man is busier than a one-arm paper hanger.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So then, with Arts Council, what are some of your wins at the Arts Council? Because Arts Council is where I ran back into you again, and I know you did a lot there. So I'd love to hear about you and your wins there.
Ooh, it's been a few years.
I know.
So I created a few special events, which were fantastic in their day. We did Sunset Flicks, where we showed free movies in Winston Square Park, which is great. Mm-hmm. We did an event during the summer where every couple of weeks we had food trucks and music in Winston Square Park, and invited our downtown community to come into our space. And it's supposed to be the downtown living room, but this was outside.
Right.
So had them come down, eat, share space and time with us, and then we had broadcasts from WSNC, so that was great. I got to work with some wonderful community partners that were just fantastic. So getting to promote what they were doing in the arts community was wonderful. One of the events that I did right before I left was like a summer camp expo for our community partners, or those that were of the arts-based organizations. And so that was just a handful of the events that I did, and then doing fundraising, working towards a 2.65, I believe, $1 million goal and being able to reach that. That was great. So it was a great experience supporting the arts in our community.
And did you have 2 directors while you were there?
So I came to work under Milton.
Right.
And then Milton retired shortly after I was on board. And then Jim Sparrow came.
And you also did, remember the brown bag thing? Didn't you guys do a brown bag and a lunch type thing, and you'd have something right near Sawtooth Center where people could come and...
Yeah, that was the beats that we did with the music and the food. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we're going to take a break.
Okay.
Show the Leadership Winston Salem website. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more to Katherine about getting to where she is now, and then we're going to peel back all the layers on Leadership Winston Salem and how you can apply if you're interested in doing that. We'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson. I'm here with Katherine Perry, who's the Executive Director of Leadership Winston-Salem. We've been talking a little bit about what's going on with Katherine, getting her to this point, because I think it's real important that everyone know that this isn't, longevity is a virtue. And, you staying in, I think has, as I kidded with you about a month ago, I think you're going to retire from this job unless, leadership New York calls and wants you to come and do something there, but I still don't think you're going to go. So, yeah, I know. So when we get to the Arts Council and stuff like that, we were talking about that. So you're at the Arts Council, and then where do you go?
I came to leadership as the program director.
So on staff now, you have an executive director, then you have a program director.
I was the program director, and we have a development director, an administrative director, and a part-time program coordinator.
Right.
And also part-time, that person serves also as the part-time alumni engagement coordinator.
Okay, all right. And then you have Julie.
And Julianne's our administrative director.
Yeah, fair. So, okay, yeah. So I'm looking at her desk. So I mean,
yes, you are.
And she's awesome too.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She is the grease that keeps this engine running.
How are you an administrative director and the technology director? That's what I don't understand.
This woman has more skills than you can shake a stick at. She also can drive a forklift. She handles all of our finances in office, so she's got her finger on the pulse of lots of different skills. And she is a certified massage therapist. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, my shoulder.
I know, right?
So you're in the program director role. What's a program director?
So the program director is the person who recruits and then shepherds the class, whichever class it is, for the 9-month program year. And
Mama
works
hen.
with them, the mama hen.
Okay.
Yes, so she keeps her finger on the pulse of everything happening with them. She works with the coaches. She recruits the action, or he, I shouldn't say she. She or he recruits the action learning projects that they're going to work in, works with the community partners. They also coordinate logistics for the day, where the event's going to be held, how long it's going to be. They work with the committee members. So we have one committee for each program day that we have, and those committees are made up of alums from previous years. So the program director works with anywhere from 115 to 130 different alumni at any given time.
And this is where, thank goodness that you were in this position, because, as I said, we'll peel some things back. All right, so we are now in a recruiting time, correct?
Yes.
All right, so you are going about, and I guess the application's online?
Yes, we have a link to our application online.
Okay, and your website is?
leadershipws.org.
Okay, so Stabler will put that up on the screen. So someone's interested in being in leadership, they go to that website and they see, click on it, pull it down, download it, fill it out, send it in. What happens?
So we will be collecting applications until probably the beginning of June. That's our
Okay.
typical time frame. We'll have a few information sessions in March, April, and May.
I was going to ask if you did those because you've done them before at different places around town. So you'll do Zoom information sessions?
We will do Zoom information
Okay.
sessions unless things change dramatically, which I don't.
Link would probably be on the website, or you'll send it to people.
So we're
Yeah.
asking people to register so we know about how many people will
Correct.
come to each information session. Although, sky's the limit.
Right.
Where we would have them here, we definitely topped out at like 35, 40 people.
Right.
That's way different now, of course, in one teeny little room. But through Zoom, we can entertain as many people as can show up. But,
Correct.
So if they register for the information session, then I typically follow up with them to see if they're still interested, if they have other questions. And then I just stay in touch with them through the application process. They submit their application. I usually get anywhere between 90 and over 100. So we've had up to 115 applications, and we only have 64 spaces.
Okay.
So we have a selection committee that reviews all of the applications, and then we sit down and hash it out, making sure that we have representation from several different sectors of our community, because we want to make sure that the different perspectives are all represented. We don't want to have 8 people from like Wake Forest University,
Right.
and then have one person from a banking institute. So we try to make sure that we're bringing different perspectives to the table so that there's that learning opportunity. Because as much as I may teach these class members about what our community is all about, and I bring in speakers, they will learn more from one another and the opportunities that they get to have dialogue with them.
Now, do you interview the individuals, or is it just based on what they apply?
It is based on their application
Right.
and their letters of recommendation. So
Okay.
I would love to interview, and maybe at some point we can get to that, but interviewing, I don't know how colleges that do personal interviews manage it. With
Right.
over 100 people, we just would not be able to turn those groups around fast enough.
Right.
So we notify in August,
Okay.
typically, if you've gotten into the program, and then we spend August and September trying to meet these folks in small groups, in outdoor settings, like just to have coffee. So they have an opportunity to meet a small cluster of people in their class, and the program director and executive director have an opportunity to just have some conversation and give them a little peek behind the curtain of things that might make the next 9 months go smoothly.
So almost like a speed dating, just individual touches with everybody.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you take a deep breath. Here we go. So we now have our first session, and what's our first session going to be about?
Opening retreat. So
Right.
our opening retreat, now we've done it both virtually and we've done it in person.
And this is October or September?
This is in October,
Okay.
typically the first or second Wednesday and Thursday of the month.
Okay.
There's a lot that I can't tell you because we like to keep those sort of
Well, that's
things
the icebreaker
under
stuff. I
wraps.
understand that. Yeah.
Icebreaker, team building, getting
Right.
to know you, getting to know Leadership Winston Salem. It's an opportunity for the class to start to gel a little bit, and then we provide them with just basic logistical information. This is what the next few months are going to look like. Here's
Right.
what you can expect. We have alumni come and talk to them. We have them have dinner together. I mean, typically speaking, before COVID, it was an overnight in-town 2-day retreat.
Right.
So they would be assigned a roommate, which could be very interesting as it is somebody you don't know, but this process is something that I would go through each application and match people with whoever I felt like was a good connection. And in the past 4 years, I've had several people tell me, my roommate has become one of my closest friends, and I didn't know them at all prior
Right.
to leadership.
Yeah, no, that's typical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're both coming into a situation where you have no idea what's going on, and now you have someone to cling to appreciate it together.
Absolutely.
Right.
They also get mentors assigned to them over the summer, and those are a group of 64 alumni that I've reached out to that have told me, yes, I would love to be a mentor. So I'll again go through, the history of whoever these mentors are, what sorts of things they did professionally, what sorts of things they're interested personally, and I try to match them up with somebody who's a good connection in the class. And so
You're already getting to my next question, which is going to be the next month. So it's amazing that people are really. What I want people to see is how much goes on behind the scenes.
oh, it's a tremendous amount, but
Yeah.
it is truly a labor of love. I mean, seeing people that are from very diverse sections of our community come together and get to know one another is fantastic. And the things that they are capable of accomplishing as they work towards, moving the needle in a positive direction for our community is wonderful. It is like the best job I have ever had, bar none.
You gonna be able to let some of that go now as the executive director?
I have been asked that a lot. Yes, of
Again,
course.
are you going to be able to let some of that go as a
Of
executive
course
director?
I am, because I feel like, I ran the program the way I felt like was right for me. But whoever comes in as the next program director, they have to do what's right for them. And of
Right.
course, I'll be there to help. I'll be there to answer questions, to assist, to share my knowledge with them. But that program director has got to make it their own so that they can love it as much as I do.
So now, behind the scenes, I know you've been interviewing. Have you selected someone?
We
You
are
can't
still
tell
in
us.
the interview
Okay.
process.
Right. Okay. All right.
So-
Are we getting some good candidates?
We have some fantastic candidates, absolutely.
All right.
We got a lot of talent here in town.
So we've got in town. So we have the individuals that, we've come together. We've done our team building stuff. Hey, what's the craziest thing you've ever done, type of thing, and matching or whatever these things are. What was it you had to do? Remember, hey, anybody want some M&Ms? And then don't eat them though. And then when you get them, it's like, yeah, each one you have to tell something about yourself. So I mean, I know there's some crazy things out there that you guys do to get the group together. And then when we leave that, you send them home, and then. Is that when the project starts, or is it after that?
The Action Learning Projects?
Yes.
So they meet their coach during opening retreat, and after they meet their coach and their team. So I usually have 8 teams of about 8 people, and I have 8 coaches and 8 community partners.
Right.
So moving forward, the coach and the team will communicate with each other between then and our next program day.
Right.
They will set up meetings. They'll make an opportunity happen for them to meet with the community partner just to get to know the organization, and then it just sort of moves along from there. They get to know the organization. They sort of do a deep dive on what exactly it is that the organization needs from them, and then they start to pick it apart and say, okay, what can you handle? What do we think that we can do versus what they're asking for? I mean, the nonprofit community in Winston-Salem is robust, and I don't know a single nonprofit that has all the employee support and all the funds that they need. So generally speaking, we get a lot of projects that are covering everything from soup to nuts. They need it all.
And that's where I think that a lot of people don't realize this. So let's talk about the project. So each year, 8 nonprofits come to you all, and they apply through a process, I'm assuming, or an alumni finds out about this. So what's one of in all these years, what do you think is one of the biggest successes of a project? You can think about that for a second if you need to, unless you got it.
No, I think I have it.
Okay.
So once upon a time, there was a nonprofit organization called Exchange Scan.
Very familiar with it.
Okay, so
of course, yeah. Peanuts and Tom Bush and, Stop Child Abuse. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So SCAN stood for Stop Child Abuse Now.
Yeah.
And their executive director came through our program, and she also applied for a project the same year she came through the program. And the notion was, yes, they are focused on stopping child abuse, but they're a much more robust organization. I've used that word several times in this podcast, but
it's okay.
They're a much bigger organization than that. They provide parental support. They provide, I believe they provide supplies. It's a real outreach organization. It's not just focused solely on child abuse. And the disadvantage in having child abuse in the title of your organization's name is that there's sort of that marker that people might hesitate to go get services there because they don't want to be seen as being child abusers.
Correct.
So they're sort of a whole family, whole child organization, and they really wanted a rebranding. So they tasked their team with, can you give us a new brand, a new logo, new colors, a new notion so that we appear to be a more fully fleshed out nonprofit that more people are comfortable receiving services from.
Right.
So we had this team of 8 people and their coach that worked diligently for several months, and now they are called Parenting Path. Mm-hmm. PATH standing for Positive Actions, Thriving Homes.
Right.
So, and it has changed their entire organization, well, from the ground up. I mean,
the classes that they give, the positive discipline, et cetera, and all those different things that they...
The resources they provide. And I think it is, from what we've been told, it has made a huge difference in people, the number of people they see, how they feel about their experience there, how other people receive that organization in the community. Mm-hmm. So I have to believe that that is one of our more successful projects that we've done.
I'd say for almost 20 years, the Realtors did a golf tournament for them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
In fact, one of our members who's a friend of mine who passed away this last year was a guy named Tom Bush. Mm-hmm. And Holly is, his wife is a great lady, and we keep in touch. But Tom was actually, before they made it like, what it is now with regards to, you have this big gala. This was back when you won this award, and it was amazing. Tom Bush, if you go in the Realtors Association, is on the front cover of the National Association of Realtors magazine.
Oh, wow.
He won one of 4 Good Neighbors Awards because of his dedication to Exchange Scan Now.
Parenting Path.
Yeah.
So that was the Pinwheel Gala, I'm guessing. That's their big gala every year.
No. This was the National Association of Realtors now have
Oh.
like this rock star event, and they pull the people
Wow.
out on stage and they do these videos. But back then it was this guy did so much good work that he ended up on the front cover and was one of 4 people across the nation. He was one for the South of
That's fantastic.
what he did. I mean, selling peanuts at the fair.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. So. All right, so we've done the orientation. Now I want to get to where people find out that what you really do, and that is bringing that. So what's the November meeting?
So we do, after opening retreat, we have a bus tour of our community.
That's one of the things I was going to touch on. So tell us about the bus tour, because I think I've had several friends that have told me it is humbling, empowering, and awakening.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we have our class split up on 2 buses. Now, we did it differently this year, but we have our class of 64 people split up on 2 tour buses, and we go starting at the Lowe's Foods on Robin Hood Road, because Lowe's is our sponsor of this tour. And we go from there out to Bethabra, then we come up and go past Wake Forest, in through Whitaker Park, past the old graveyard, and then past ESR. Over 52, go through East Winston, through some of the Place Matters initiative areas, past the airport. Then we go all the way up past the Shell station, the old Shell. We go
Sprague.
past Quarry Park.
Right.
So we take them to areas that many people that are in our class have not had an opportunity to see. And I think it's very eye-opening, especially when we get to areas like the Boston Thurman neighborhood, which is legitimately a stone's throw from some of the most significant wealth in our community. And so I think that's very eye-opening for people. And we have folks on our bus that give narration for the tour that talk about the things that people might not know about Winston-Salem. So we've had Paula McCoy on there, we've had Cheryl Harry on there, we've had Dee Dee Adams on there. We've had John Bost on there giving narration to really flesh this out so people have an understanding of what's significant about the area beyond just, this is East Winston, this is South Winston, this is North. So it's been a great experience.
Cool.
So after the bus tour, we do our community past, present, and future in November. In December, we do government, criminal justice, and public safety.
Hold that one.
Okay.
We're going to take a break.
All right.
All right, so we've got, I think we did the website last time. So this time, Stabler, you're going to show us a little bit around the office maybe and let them see some of the cool quotes and things on the walls in here and where actually Leadership Winston-Salem is located. Very convenient on 6th Street. But let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk some more about that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. Again, I'm with Katherine Perry. Katherine is the Executive Director of Leadership Winston-Salem, and again, a graduate of Bishop McGinnis. She has dirt on me, so that's all I'll say. But so basically, we talked about the bus trip. Then you got me to Government Day, and I know you were like, why is he so excited about this? And the reason why I'm so excited about this is now we get to see. You have 64 people plus staff, so we're talking probably 75 people that are in and around you on this day. And what is Leadership Day? You start off, do you start off with the mayor addressing you guys or stuff like that?
So we do hear from the mayor, but we don't hear from him on Government Day.
Okay.
We actually hear from him on our Community Day, and then we move forward into Government Day.
Okay.
And it's government, criminal justice, and public safety. So we're having to cram all 3 of those into one program day.
So you've got Dudley, Lee, Katrina, Trey, and the sheriff, Bobby?
Well, yes, because we typically spend some time at
Holy
the detention
cow.
center.
Now, all right, so we got to talk about that too. Do you get to go in a cell?
No.
No. So.
But if you were in the class, we could make an exception.
Yeah. No. Not there. I just want people to realize this. You've got 75 people that are your mama hen over, and then you now have to work with Dudley and Lee, who, if they're not in a meeting, I don't know what's going on. Something's wrong. And then Trey, of course, who's, if he's not putting out a fire literally or figuratively. And then you also, have, Bobby and the police chief too. I mean, you got to get all these people together. So let's roll back. So pre-COVID, where was this at?
Pre-COVID, this was at City Hall.
Okay. And so they have a...
Or, I'm sorry, it was at the County Justice Building, County Government Building. We
Okay.
had all of our meetings at City Hall.
Okay, so you're at the county, and they have a large enough room for this?
Yes, county chambers.
Up outside Dudley's office?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, we've been in there. That's where we filmed Camel Say Chat there. Okay, so yeah, that's big enough, right?
Yes.
And so then each member comes in and speaks. Obviously, and I know this is stupid, and people are going, well, why does this matter? But I'm just trying to make people realize that not only is this such a wonderful learning experience for those in Winston-Salem that, are participating in it, but you are working with staff of these individuals. You've probably got snacks, you got drinks, you got to secure the building, you got to make sure that everyone's there, and all this kind of stuff. And that's what your job was as program director, right? Mm-hmm. And now as executive director, you've got to come in and smile and make sure the program director's done all of these things. And all that's taken away and blown up. And now it's like you've got to go, all right, so everyone will be on your Zoom at this time, and then we're going to do this and do that. So do you feel that has changed drastically? Is the same message getting across?
It is, and we work, and it's not just me. I want to make that super clear. I have a committee of really talented and very dedicated volunteers. And when I say
they are alumni?
Yes, they're all alumni. And when I say talented and dedicated, they work for months in advance to make sure that whatever program day they're working on is the absolute best it can be. That it was better than the year that they went through the program, that it is relevant, that it is topical, and that it is engaging for the class. So when we have a program day, be it on Zoom or in person, it's not just a lecture series where you hear from this person, then you hear from that person, everybody's just sitting, because especially now through Zoom, we are all exhausted and tired of staring at the screen all day. So we try to make these very interactive, where we do polling, we do a lot of small group breakout sessions, we have a lot of small discussions. So, when you get to be in a small group of like 8 people working with Trey Mayo and Katrina Thompson, our police chief and our fire chief, how many people get to do that in our community? So that is like this once in a lifetime kind of experience to get in front of these folks that you hear about and read about that really shape what the face of our community looks like. So we do that through Zoom now. We did that in person before. And these are all objectives that are being focused on by these committees that are working super hard to make sure that you're getting the most out of this program day. I mean, they are cramming all the love and energy and interest levels that they can in every 8-hour day.
Mm-hmm. It is such a fortunate time period that, we are getting connected closer. It just stinks that it's not in person.
Right. It would be wonderful if it was in person. But
do you still do the breakouts when it's in person?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's, I think, super important is, we have these large classes, but you have your most compelling conversations when you're in an intimate group.
Right.
I mean, there are things that come out of the large group, where someone shares something with the whole group about, their experience or what they got out of it. But when you have a small group and you can really do a deep dive on a subject matter, they're really, that's, as Michael Horowitz, our class of 17 graduate, said, that's the secret sauce.
Right.
So, those are opportunities we like to feather into every single program day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, and, I guess, I just don't want people to think that, it's the same every time. I mean, you guys are always evolving, mm-hmm. and I've had so many friends that have done it. When you're talking about somebody that's dedicated and loves Leadership Winston Salem, I have to say, 4-time All-American Avery Hall.
Yes.
Who is just a great guy, and but who are some of the alumni? You've named several of them. We've got, Jay Allen joins. Mm-hmm. Can't believe he doesn't want to go by his real first name. Then you have, you've said what Trey's gone through the program.
Trey Mayo has
Right.
gone through Flagship. Katrina Thompson, our police chief, has gone through Flagship. All of the assistant chiefs of police have gone through Flagship, including Wilson Weaver, who's actually in the class now.
Okay.
We have had Mike Campbell, who's the executive director of Habitat for Humanity. Sarah Williamson, who is the executive director of the Humane Society. So we have a large nonprofit. We
Right.
have several people from Wake Forest Baptist that come through every year. Julie Freischlag was in our Insight class.
And you mentioned Flagship and Insight, so share what that is.
So Flagship is the program with 64 people that meets over the course of 9 months. It can be executive directors of nonprofits or what have you, all the way down to sort of your project manager type folks.
Right.
Insight is meant for the C-suite executive. They meet twice a month in the evening, starting in March, and they just meet March, April, May.
Right.
That is for couples, typically speaking, and it's, as you're looking towards the C-suite executives, the Terry Williamses of the world, who
Right.
is Julie's right-hand man,
Right.
it's difficult for him to carve out, an 8-hour day 9 times a month. Those sorts of things, opportunities don't
Right.
happen. So this program was developed a number of years ago to still tap into those leaders, those high-level leaders, to give them an opportunity to get to know one another,
Right.
connect, engage, and collaborate, and really unfold or unpack what makes Winston so unique. So we do that with the help of some trustees that focus on high-level issues in our community.
So now, are they going to interact with the same people? Like, will the mayor be there one evening? Will the police chief be there one evening or stuff like that? Do they still do some of that stuff?
They do some of that stuff. It looks a little bit differently. They do a lot of discussion and roundtables.
Right.
And I think more of the conversation happens from individual to individual. There's a presentation by someone.
Right.
Like, for example, we've had Randall Tuttle come present to us. Don Flo is one of our presenters.
Right.
Mark Owens with the Chamber has been one of our presenters. And they talk about things that are of importance for that level of manager in our community, or
Right.
that level of director in our community.
It's almost like it's it's kind of like an orientation course for Winston-Salem.
It is, but we do have people in Insight that have been here for a number of years.
Right.
It's not just for the newcomers, although we have certainly had a number of new people come into the community in the past few months, and are going to be looking at that over the next year as you're looking at the new chancellor for Wake Forest.
Right.
We've got a new CEO for the Arts Council. So there are a lot of different new faces in town, but we try to, just like with Flagship, make that a very diverse group of folks, because if it's nothing but new people, they won't learn about some of the rich history of our community.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome, and it's nice that you're able to accommodate those busier schedules, and still get your message out, because I think that there's a lot to be said from being able to see, Alan on the street, and he knows who you are and carry a conversation on, than it is to have to introduce yourself and go through that. Oh no, where do I know you from? That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice that
Yeah.
you guys do that. All right. So what I'd like to kind of start to do is now let's continue down the path, and then we'll take a break, and we got a couple more questions for you about you, but also we want to start ramping up recruitment here. So we've gone through bus trip, we've gone through government day. What's next?
Well, next is sort of our howitzer of program days. It's Human Relations Day.
Okay.
So we talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, we talk about equity. Instead of it being a conversation that's built solely on the community and what's happening in the community, it's a lot of introspective conversation as well.
Okay.
This past year, we brought in Dr. William Lewis to do a lot of our facilitating. We were able to do something that has been, it's a registered program, but we took a take on it. So we provided something similar to the Human Library.
Okay.
For our class members. We had a lot of homework for them to do to sort of prep for this day. We talked about unconscious bias. We talked about brave conversations. And this year, our HR pre-day actually happened to fall the day after the insurrection in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So that was a big, heavy evening for us. A lot of conversation between class members. And it was really important for them to be able to share and reflect their feelings and what they took away from that horrible occasion. I mean, it was, and I think that was what made the evening so special, was that you had, because we have such a diverse class, that day meant a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We had people that chimed in and said, I'm furious. And then we had other people that were like, I don't understand, and help me see this through your perspective. And not that it wasn't bad, but just that they weren't seeing it through the lens of somebody else.
Right.
And so there was a lot of really great support that happened that evening as a result of open conversation, and because we were on Zoom.
Right.
That Zoom chat feature was invaluable. People plugged in resources, they shared their opinions, they said, hey, let's get together and talk about this. If we had been sitting in one room with one facilitator delivering a message, those sidebar conversations wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So our challenge moving forward is going to be how to continue to have those kinds of conversations when we move back to something that's more in person, because that really has helped our class to bond and connect.
Right. Okay.
So then we have after HR Day,
Right.
we have Healthcare Day, which is another big day for us now, because we've got all the COVID pandemic and vaccine information that's out there. We have mental health issues that we uncover and discuss.
And getting Julie to come and address a small group and then have to do it 2 or 3 times is totally different than when she could have walked into a room and it's like 60 or 70 people. That's where Zoom has been a positive in a sense too.
Yes. So this year, actually, because of schedules being what they are, so we are usually pretty successful in getting everybody that we ever asked to come to.
Right.
Come to those, either the Zoom or the program day. And there are occasions where we have not been as successful. We couldn't get Julie Freischlag this year, but we got Kathleen Wheatley.
Okay.
And she is the president of Wake Forest, so that was huge. And she's an alum of Insight. And we got Chad Setliff from Novant. He is the Winston-Salem market president. And he is also an alum of Flagship. So that's why we're pretty successful in getting the speakers that we're looking for, is because most of them have been through the program and they understand and recognize how important these conversations are.
Right.
So we have an executive panel that goes on that day. We have Andy Hagler from the Mental Health Association for Forsyth County talk to us about mental health and run the class through some exercises that they wouldn't otherwise have experienced, to give them a firsthand experience of what some mental health issues would feel like. After that, after 2 heavy days, we go to something that's a little bit more take a deep breath and relax kind of day, but super critical to the economy of our community, and that's Arts and Innovation in our community day.
Well, Arts and Innovation, I never heard of that.
I know, right?
Yeah, right, yeah, Arts and Innovation.
So that's always not only a fun day, but a very, very interesting day, because a lot of people think of the arts as only being like going to the opera or going to the symphony or taking a class at Sawtooth, and it's really such a broad palette of experiences that are available.
It could be a lady bolted to the side of Mary's old restaurant. I mean,
It could be that.
Yeah, she was telling us about that when we were talking to her. I mean, we have so much art in our community. It is amazing.
And there's the performing arts, there are the culinary arts, there's Mixer on MLK. So there's a lot of different things that people just aren't aware of that are in our community. And so having Arts Day is a nice way for them to really invest themselves in what's out there. After Arts Day, we have Education Day, where we do a deep dive in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County public school system. And then we have Social Services Day. And then we close it all out in June, where all of our action learning teams share their projects and their deliverables, and then we celebrate them the next day.
Okay, cool. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and ask you a couple more questions, maybe a little bit more about what the projects, maybe can you tease us on what they're working on, maybe a little bit, or groups this time, maybe?
I can a little bit.
Okay, just a little bit, and then we'll close out. So we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. Last segment, I want to talk to Katherine Perry, who of course is the executive director here at Leadership Winston Salem, and we were talking about just different things going on that the whole year basically in review, and then you talked about the project. The project is something that I think you see in a lot of leadership programs. Capstone Project. What do you guys call yours? Action Learning Project. And so what I don't think people realize is hey, I'm in leadership. I get two days a month, right? This project, I mean, you're taking the best of Winston-Salem, because each class is the best year ever. You're taking 8 of them, loaning them to a nonprofit, and they are helping grow, fix, set goals, et cetera, and things like that. And how much time do you think on average, because I know you guys have this broken down to probably an exact number, how much time do you think on average each group dedicates to these projects?
Ooh, that is, we actually don't have that broken down.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks for asking me a question I couldn't answer.
yes.
Each team is different.
Right.
Each project is different. So, like, for example, right now we have a team of people that are working with Moji Coffee and more.
Okay.
Trying to find resources so that these IDD employees of theirs, intellectually and developmentally disabled employees, have opportunities to work in other places across the community that are not just Moji Coffee.
Okay.
So our team is focused on finding those other employers out there and helping to create sort of a resource for the Moji employees to get their initial employment experience there and maybe go to other places.
Okay.
So we have a coach that commits time each month to kind of help the team stay in the lanes.
Right.
They don't tell them what to do, they just sort of guide them through the process.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Am I sure I want to do that?
Are you? Is that kind of questions like that? Are you sure?
Well, maybe you should think about, they sort of.
How do you feel this will impact everyone else? Are you thinking just about yourself?
They're a little bit like the bumper guard at the bowling alley. So they just sort of keep
Strike.
you from going off into the gutter.
Right.
But the teams are typically made up of 8 people that are very well resourced and very thoughtful folks. They got to actually choose of the 8 or 9 projects that were presented to them. They got to choose which one they wanted to be a part of.
Right.
And so they work together. They actually become their own little family unit, which is really nice because we've heard for years and years and years and years that these little clusters will stay in contact with each other. They end up being support for one another. A lot can happen to any one person or to 64 people in the course of 9 months. We have babies born, we have family members that die, we have job changes, and so they are like their own little support unit, and that's why
we have kids go away to college.
Kids go away to college. So, of course, I'd rather him go away to college than stay home.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
At any rate, these little groups, they nurture one another, and they work. They put a lot of energy into it. So insofar as a specific time, I would say probably 3 hours, 4 hours a month over the course of 9 months per person.
It's probably 2 or 3 weeks worth of work.
I'd say though, yeah. But they work it into their schedules. It's not like they're having to stop their job and do, all of this.
So my project today is I think you ought to survey them to see how much time they actually do, and then that's a dedicated X number of hours to nonprofits.
That's true. And
that's my new thing. Should we put that on Monday? That's his new project. Tell my son suggested that.
I will do that.
Yeah, right. No, you won't. All right. So I guess I have some questions that are about you, but I want to make sure that we talk a little bit more about recruitment. So we go to Leadership Winston Salem. It's leadershipws.org. All right. If you have questions, we can call in and maybe grab Julie on the phone or something.
Any questions should be directed to leadershipws.org.
So you've got your new email.
I've got my new email.
All right, cool. So KP for Katherine Perry at leadershipws.org.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we've got that. We can find out more information about the program, et cetera, on the website. Applications are on the website now?
We are trying to confirm our dates for next year.
Okay.
Since it's it is a time commitment, we
Right.
like to make sure that we have cleared all the calendars. Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Schools, Winston-Salem State, Wake Forest.
Yeah, you really don't want to have something in the middle of like a fall break.
Of spring break.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so right now we're waiting for the Board of Education to choose a calendar
Okay.
for the school system because one of the dates that we've chosen, they have 2 optional calendars. One of the education dates that we've chosen is right in the middle of their spring break.
Okay.
So we need to make sure that we have our finger on the pulse of all that's happening.
Doesn't take me time to do this at all.
It's quite the process.
Yeah.
And so we start promoting that schedule and we start recruiting in February because we feel like it's important for people to know exactly what they're signing up
Oh, it's a commitment.
Yeah.
And there's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
The price.
Correct. So now some companies pay or assist.
Many companies
Right.
pay.
All right. So what about, all right, so the person off the street comes in and wants to be in Leadership Winston-Salem. I know you do have scholarship money available.
We do. We
Right.
can scholarship for those who need it
Right.
up to half the cost of tuition, which is $20,000. $2,700.
So it's $2,700, and that is that always been that price, or?
We've been at that price, I'd say, for the past 3 years.
Okay, so $2,700, and of course that would pay for your hotel room if you guys were doing the hotels and all that kind of stuff. And what people don't realize, oh, they're not paying for my hotel room. There's still a lot of money. I mean, you don't make really a lot of money on the program. In fact, you probably make nothing on the program in the sense of the tuition. You get it from sponsors and stuff like that to help augment everything.
Right. So
Yeah.
tuition only covers about half the cost of running the program.
See, I figured that. Okay,
That
so
number I do know.
all right, yeah, I'm telling you, I got a new project for you. But so basically, so it's $2,700. You said $2,750 or $2,700.
2,700.
All right, so $2,700, and you guys will work with people, payment plans, et cetera, stuff like that.
Yep.
All right, and yeah, I'm sure there's a fee to once you get accepted or something like that, and then like you're saying with scholarships and stuff like that. So that's if you're obviously go check with your employer to see if they would help pay for it. And you're saying a lot of employers do help pay for it, correct?
Yes, a lot of employers pay for it out of their development
Right.
budgets.
Okay.
And like I said, we have probably given out more scholarship money this year than we ever have historically. Because we had, it was a tough year for a lot of people. There were a lot of people being furloughed. There were a lot of people being laid off. So this was a big year for us to give out scholarship dollars. But we felt like it was definitely worth it to get the caliber of people in the program that we felt like needed to be there.
I mean, honestly, this is the year that people can really dedicate to the program because they're home more, et cetera, than not going out. And, this could be the best class ever.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah,
Best class ever.
Best class ever, yeah. Yeah. I don't understand why people do that for every leadership program.
Well, I will say, so we have had some differentiation. So class of 2019 is the most authentic class.
Okay.
Class of 2020 is the most visionary class.
Right.
2020.
Yeah.
We had a class that was, I think it was class of 2016, said they were the most engaged class.
Okay.
Class of 2021 has not settled on a moniker yet. I think they were thinking most virtual class because they definitely are.
Right.
But these guys, they're very special. They're very special.
Cool. So let's talk about Winston-Salem. Where do you see our city going? Where do you want it to go? Because you're really in touch with our city. So what are things that you wish for? Besides the trolley car on 4th Street or a water feature downtown, all these wonderful things. What do you want?
I would like to see our city's education system become more equitable. I would like to see our community become more diverse and accepting. I would like to see our economic mobility rate change dramatically from the 3rd worst county in the country, only to be outdone by 2 counties that were home to Native American reservations, which is a huge embarrassment and a great disappointment.
I was made aware of that, I believe, by the Reverend John Bost. But and then of course I was lucky enough to have Craig Richardson as one of my teachers. So I just saw an article, I guess, the other day about how lucky we are to have him. I never knew that. I was this many years old when I discovered that Forsyth County, if you're born poor in Forsyth County, you will die poor in Forsyth County. I don't know how to change that. What do we do?
Well, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
And I think it takes the involvement, engagement, and passion of our community leaders
Right.
to make a difference, to really change things systematically. We have a broken system. I take that back. We don't have a broken system. We have a system that works exactly the way it was designed to work, which was to minimize populations of minority, people of color. It has worked that way forever, and it is still thriving. So I'd like to see that system dismantled. I think there are too many people that care too much about our community to see it continue to unravel.
That would probably be a whole nother episode to just you enlighten me on what you're even talking about, because I mean, I know that we have problems, but I'm not even aware of what you're talking about. That's sad.
Well, I think we've got a lot of growth to doing
Yeah.
in our community to make it a more accepting and inclusive community.
So, can Leadership Winston-Salem then work to make others aware outside of that family?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for example, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we'll be hosting a community conversation. It
Right.
is open to anybody that wants to come. It's through Zoom, so we have place for 500 people.
Right.
We will be talking with Bill Cook, who is the co-chair of the Hidden Town Project in Old Salem.
Okay.
So Hidden Town is the project that discusses the African American community in the 18th and 19th century in Old Salem that is, prior to about 2017, not discussed at all. It wasn't talked about. It wasn't on any kind of tour that was done.
And now it is with the church, correct? And the
With St. Philip's.
yeah,
It's really
okay.
talking about that entire community, how they worked, how they lived, how they suffered.
Right.
And goes to explain how that impacted where our African American community developed from there.
Right.
Which, of course, has had long range impact on our community as it stands today in East Winston.
Right.
So those opportunities where we can educate people as to where we were, where we are now, and where we're going, I
Right.
think are opportunities for us to improve our community, to open dialogue and conversation. And Leadership Winston-Salem, I'm very proud to say, is a convener of different entities to have these conversations. I'm working right now with Brian Hart, who is the new director of the library here.
Okay.
Emily McCord, who's the news director of WFDD, and Alana Meltzer Holdenfield with Muse Museum to do a human library concept this spring when we can be outside. And the human library brings a very diverse group of people into a setting where small groups of people can ask them questions. I mean, these are people that are going to be different from you and me. And you might always have wondered, what is it like to be a blind person in Forsyth County? How has that experience shaped you? And, would you ever have an opportunity to ask somebody who is visually impaired, what is life like for you? Probably not. And so these are opportunities to ask questions and become enlightened and make good decisions moving forward, to be compassionate, to be empathetic. So I think Leadership Winston-Salem has the ability to improve perspectives, I suppose, for the entire community.
And so I of course, don't know when we're going to get this one edited out, so it will probably be too late to have this. But how would I get more information about that for the next time? Do you guys have a sign-up sheet that?
So our Facebook page,
Okay.
We put all of our upcoming information that is open to the public on Facebook.
All right.
We also put it on our website, but I'd say that between social media and the website are probably your best areas for tapping into what we're doing.
Okay.
We sent a press release out to our local media groups here, so
Okay.
there are times when you will find it there, but it's up to them whether or not they decide to run it.
All right. Well, then we'll Instagram that today, because Stabler at some point is going to take a picture of you and I sitting here talking and saying that we're interviewing you. So we'll push that out on our Facebook page and through Instagram and stuff. Now, last two things. One is, what do you, Katherine Perry, want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as a connector. I can't solve all the problems that we have in Winston-Salem, but I can connect this person with this skill set and this passion with this organization and this mission and directive, or these two organizations together. I'm passionate about the people in this community, and I'm passionate about my class members, my board members, my coaches, my community partners. I suppose that it wouldn't be a bad thing to be remembered as somebody who gave 100%.
You care. And to quote my students when I was lucky enough to teach a little bit at Winston-Salem State as an adjunct professor, Miss Perry, you're a plug.
A plug.
You said you want to be a connector. I'm like, what does that mean? You're a plug. Yeah. So I'm just honored that you take the time with us this morning. This has been a lot of fun. Before we go, though, I'm going to mention a name that you probably have never heard. Jeff Smith with Smitty's Notes.
Yes.
Yeah, never heard of him, right? So Jeff's one of our sponsors, and we appreciate him pushing us out each month. I'm sure he's going to be bragging all over the fact that you were on this episode. He's just such a nice guy. So go to Smitty's Note, check that out, smittysnotes.com, and we'll be back next week. Got some really good guests coming up as well. But this has been a really wonderful time to spend with you, catch up, and learn more about what makes Leadership Winston Salem tick, and also get to spend some time not letting you share anything about me.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you. You take care. We'll be back next week with more Camel City Chat.